Is that working for you, Carol?
Closer to life.
Closer?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very happy to welcome you here today to this benefit concert. If you'd like to make a donation, if you'd like to write a check, you can make it payable to the Georgetown Rotary Foundation, and they will in turn make it benefit the Black Oak Mine Unified School District Fine Arts Program, which is a complicated proposition, I understand, but to give the money to the right place, you can't just give money to the schools. So, we appreciate any donations you might make. I have to tell you, about 13 years ago at Founders Day, I saw somebody taking pictures on the street, and it was Mary Beth and Jim, and I didn't know them, and I walked up and said hello and discovered that Mary Beth played the piano. I had no idea how magnificently she played the piano. So today you're in for a real treat. And I want to tell you also that David Blonsky here with the camera is going to be moving around and getting in your way and just making a general nuisance of himself. But he's trying to record this concert. So now, unless there are any serious questions, I'd like to introduce my very good friend, Mary Beth Dowd.
I just played another opening for another show because that's what it is. That actually is a song from Kiss Me Kate, musical Kiss Me Kate, and it was based on Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. And some people call this the show national anthem, the show business national anthem. The interesting thing is when the Broadway show came out, they used this song in 1948. But when the film came out, they didn't have the song with the words, but it was played in the background. So I thought that was interesting. So that's my introduction to my first piece. So first of all, I'd like to welcome you here today, and some of my old friends, some of my new friends, and new friends to be. So thank you very much. First of all, I am not a professional. I just love sharing my music, and I am a trained pianist, but I'm not a professional performer. So I just love doing what I do. So I hope you enjoy hearing the holiday, I'm sorry, not holiday, your Broadway musicals and movies music. Some of these are my personal favorites. I have some personal connections to them. And so that's one reason why I chose them. It really was hard for me to pick a group that I would enjoy playing as well as you would enjoy hearing. And because my husband is in the military, was in the military, we had an opportunity to live and visit in other countries. So that gave me an opportunity to see and hear a variety of music and have some musical experiences as well. So this is my fourth benefit concert, and I chose, as Linda said, to help the fine arts for the Black Oak Mine School District. I was very fortunate when I retired after 30 years of teaching. from a school district in Maryland. It was a county in Maryland, and they really valued the fine arts. And I can share this with you. I was the music teacher at the elementary school. I got to see every child in that school 30 minutes, twice a week. We had a full-time PE teacher. We had a full-time art teacher. I was the chorus director, and I also was in charge of the musical plays and things like that. We also had a string teacher come in. We also had a band teacher come in. So, and I felt really bad when we moved here that this was not available as I was used to in the elementary schools. So anyway, that's what this is for today. So, enjoy. Okay. The first one I'm really going to play, other than the introduction, is from the musical South Pacific. And it was first done on Broadway in 1945. The film was made in 1948. And then in 2008, they did a Broadway revival. But it's based on James Michener's best-selling novel, The Tales from the South Pacific. And this is actually a piano arrangement of the overture. chose two early Disney movies, Pinocchio and Cinderella. And both of the songs are considered dream songs. So When You Wish Upon a Star, sung by the Blue Fairy, and the A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes comes from Cinderella. So Pinocchio was first done in 1940, and it was Walt Disney's second animated film. Does anybody know what the first one was? Bambi?
Fantasia.
One I read was Snow White was the first one. So it depends on which Google you look at. And then, so I'm going to play these back to back. And the second one is A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes. And this is from a 1950 animated movie. And they also made a live action movie in 2015. So Cinderella sings this to her forest friends to never stop dreaming. Next, I've chosen a real fun piece. This is The Pink Panther. So it was a movie starring Peter Sellers in 1963, and it's about the inept French police detective Inspector Clouseau. And because I play piano at the Coloma Melodrama Theater, I always play this one for the Halloween productions because it's really fun. it too, right?
So
Good job. Okay. So now I've got two songs together that are rain songs. So the first one is Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. Does anybody remember the movie?
Yeah.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Yes, it was a 1960 movie starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford. It was set in 1899. And this particular Raindrops Keep Falling is from the famous little bicycle ride. It was in the movie. The second rain song is Singing in the Rain. And believe it or not, this is the original music. I found this at the thrift store.
Wow.
It was actually written in 1929 and performed in 1929. But we know it as from the movie Singing in the Rain. So it was the 1953 movie, Donald O'Connor, Debbie Reynolds, and Gene Kelly, and I have a story for this one. My husband and I were in Baltimore at a theater in the Round, and a dinner theater, and so the production that night was Singing in the Rain. Well, they actually had this big, almost like this the stage here, that was contained with water in it. And so when he would do his dance, he would, kick the water. Well, all the people in the front row had this like ponchos on so they didn't get wet. Well, we were seated in the second row. I still got wet. But I thought it was very nice. The owner of the theater actually came up to me and he said, "Oh, I'll pay to have your clothes dry cleaned and everything else." And I said, "No, it's fine, it's okay." So that's my story for Singing. So raindrops first. Keep falling on my head. next one is a sung-through musical, as they call it, which is very similar to an opera, and this is Les Miserables. And there's two songs from Les Mis that I'm going to play. The first one is Bringing You Home, and the second one is Do You Hear the People Sing, which is the march. If you haven't seen a production of this or even the movie, it's really worth your time. It's worth your while. It's so fantastic. It's from a Victor Hugo book about the French Revolution. It first opened in London in 1985, and it was the longest running musical at the West End in London with 13,000 performances. And it opened in our country, in Broadway, in 1987, so that was 2 years later. And this has been so popular, it was produced in 42 countries. And at the 25th anniversary of this, which we were able to see on television, it was broadcast through PBS, that all of the lead characters from the various productions around the world were actually at the end of that performance. It was really fantastic. And Jim and I were very fortunate. We got to see a live performance of this, and the stage revolves around, and there's really, really cool when the battle's going on. So this is Bringing Home. The first one is from Casablanca, which is the 1942 movie, and that's the famous song, As Time Goes By. It was set during World War II. It won the Academy Award for the Best Picture, and the famous saying, "Play it again, Sam," was never spoken in the movie. But the Ilsa came in and asked Sam, the pianist, to play it once, Sam, for old time's sake. And so this is kind of a light jazz arrangement. And 42nd Street is the Lullaby of Broadway. And so that was a movie from 1933. They actually did a Broadway performance of that in 1980. And if you ever see it, it's all the dancing girls and the tap dancing. So they said there's 40 pairs of tap dancing feet on the stage. page. Okay, now I've got two pieces. One is The Sting, and the next one is Buck Privates. And The Sting, the entertainer came from, and that was played as the background music. It also made Scott Joplin's music famous during that time. So the movie was set in 1973, and the setting was during the Depression in 1936. And so I had to look this up myself, because I wasn't quite sure what the sting meant. And so that's the moment when the con artist actually finishes the play acting and takes the victim's money. Buck Privates, you might not know, but Boogie Woogie Boo Boy came from that. And so that's a movie from 1941. Andrew Sisters made it famous, and also Bette Midler had a hit in 1972. So the entertainer first. The next song is from the movie The Beauty and the Beast, and I will be playing Beauty and the Beast. It's an animated movie from 1991, but they made a Broadway production of it in 1992, and Jim and I had a date night, and we went to the Music Circus Theater to see this performance in Sacramento. So this is Beauty and the Beast.
Hi everyone, I'd like to thank you all for coming today. So the next song, like my grandma just said, she will be playing The Circle of Life from The Lion King. If you didn't already know, the music was actually composed by Elton John. The Disney animated movie was released in 1994, and the Broadway musical opened in 1997 and is still currently running to this day. I think that's pretty cool. When I lived in Japan, I think it was 2008, my grandmother had come to visit us for the summer, and we were able to see a live performance of this on Broadway. Fantastic show, truly amazing. I have another personal relation to this song that is very inspiring to me. When I was in high school and I lived in Germany, we had traveling college students from the Young Americans College of Performing Arts from Southern California come and hold a 3-day workshop with children from ages kindergarten to about 12th grade. And their purpose was to inspire children of those ages to feel comfortable expressing themselves through the performing arts. And for our closing number, we performed Circle of Life, and it left me very inspired and such a powerful song. If you are okay with it, I would like to read you the lyrics. Very, very inspiring for me. From the day we arrive on the planet and blinking step into the sun, there's more to see than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. There's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found. But the sun rolling high through the sapphire skies keeps great and small on the endless round. It's the circle of life, and it moves us all. In the circle of life, it's the wheel of fortune. It's the leap of faith. It's the band of hope, till we find our place on this path unwinding in the circle of life. Please enjoy.
read those words like you did. Too emotional. Let's see, I'm looking at the time. I think we did. Okay. Now we have Fiddler on the Roof. It's a medley of songs. Broadway musical was in 1964. The movie was in 1997. And just so you know what Fiddler on the Roof means, because I looked that up as well. In the opening monologue, Tevi, the central metaphor of the musical, he explains, a fiddler on the roof sounds crazy. No. But in our little village of Antefka, you might say every one of us is a fiddler on the roof, trying to scratch out a pleasant, simple tune without breaking her neck. two shows that start with C. One is Cats, and the second one is Chicago. So I'll be playing Memory from Cats. It first opened in London in 1981, and it opened in Broadway in 1982. And the lyrics are a memory of one of the cats of the glorious past. And it's probably one of the most recognizable theater songs. And then from Chicago, I'm going to play All That Jazz, hopefully not too fast. I get carried away. It opened in Broadway in 1975. The movie was in 2002, and it was set during the Jazz Age, 1920s and 1930s. And since Phantom of the Opera closed April the 16th, 2023, this year, Chicago is still on Broadway, so it's the longest running musical. Phantom of the Opera. I play this at the Paloma Theater for their Halloween show as well, during pre-show. And Phantom of the Opera opened in 1986 on Broadway. 2 years later, 1988. It's based on a French novel, and the story is of a beautiful soprano who becomes the obsession of a mysterious masked musical genius who lives underneath the Paris Opera. Be prepared. He's coming. back table, courtesy of the music products. And thank you very much. Beth and Marty Mildenhall for doing that. So they designed the program for me and also the flyers that are about. And I'd like to thank David for coming today. He's videotaping this afternoon for my family that can't be here. Some are overseas, some are in Virginia, some are in Arizona. Anyway, so he's doing that for me today, so thank you, David. Also, Georgetown Rotary. They have a foundation, established a foundation in my name to handle the funds from this concert. And so it will be donated or given to as needed the teachers in the Black Oak Mine School District, not for teacher salaries, but for the classroom teachers who need something to enrich their classrooms. And if it weren't for Patty Smith, we wouldn't be here. She's my good friend. She helped to publish the programs for me. She helped collect the donations from the businesses, and I am really thrilled that she's also my piano student, so she plays the piano. And I thank you for being here because other than my family, I'm glad other people showed up. Also, I'd like to give a special thank you to my granddaughter. I asked her if she would do some of the things for me during the show today, and she agreed, and she's very... Patty, I just gave you a big thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. All right, to start the second half, I'm going to play the on-track music from My Fair Lady. So, once again, this is a piano arrangement of the music that is played between the acts of a Broadway show. So, this one is based on George Bernard Shaw's 1913 play of Pygmalion. And the story is about a Cockney girl, flower girl from London, who needs to get speech lessons from immigrants. And so she can pass as a proper lady. So it was a 1956 Broadway production starring Rex Harrison and Julie Andrews. But when they made the movie in 1964, they continued to have Rex Harrison, but they had Audrey Hepburn in. And the sad thing was, she actually took a lot of singing lessons so that she could sing the parts. And right at the last minute, that they substituted a lip sync for her, so somebody else did that. So, but anyway, it was a fantastic movie and fantastic performance. So this is My Fair Lady.
Okay, we're ready.
Are you ready for this?
I am.
And I forgot to turn off the It's Megan's turn.
So, these next two songs I personally requested because these two come from my favorite movie, which is Mamma Mia. Based on the music of ABBA, which is a Swedish singing group. The letters A, B, B, A are based off of each letter of the members' names. The first performance was in 1999 in London. It opened in Broadway in the US 2001, and they later went on to make the movie, as you all know, Mamma Mia, in 2008. The reason that this is my favorite, not only because I have watched this movie so many times since I was a little girl. When I lived in Germany for my 17th birthday, my mother took me to London, and after a day of traveling the city, we finished the night by watching a live performance on stage, Mamma Mia. So, please enjoy. Next is The Sound of Music. This is a Broadway musical first. In 1959, it's set in Austria. It's based on the story of Anstatt family singers. And many of you might know that when they made the musical and the movie, they left out a lot of factual facts. They kind of twisted the things to make the movie work, to make the musical work. So the movie was in 1969. It starred Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer. We were fortunate enough to live in Germany for 3 years, and we got to travel a lot. And so we did get to Austria, and we did get the hills of Austria. And they do have a Sound of Music tour. So if you ever get to Austria, sign up for it. So this is The Sound of Music itself and Do Re Mi.
next selection is Cabaret, and the song is Cabaret. It was from a 1996 musical that was set in Berlin during the Jazz Age, and the movie was, in 1972, starring Liza Minnelli. And we were fortunate enough, when we lived overseas, to go to a cafe in Paris, and they had a floor show that night, and they performed this. We rented this movie the other night on our television so we could watch it again. We hadn't seen it for a while. And the Broadway production was in 1951. They made the movie in 1952, and it's based on the novel Anna and the King of Siam. And if you've ever seen the movie or the Broadway show, Anna is a British school teacher, and she's hired by the king to teach his children proper English because he wants to modernize his country. So Yul Brynner was in both the Broadway production and the movie. And when we get to Shall We Dance, you might remember that 1, 2, 3 to help you learn the dance. So this is Whistle a Happy Tune. One is Grease, and I chose Hopelessly Devoted to You from that one. And the movie Beaches that Beth was in, and that was Wind Beneath White Wings. So Grease was a Broadway musical first, before it became a famous movie. And it stars John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. And it was set in a fictional high school in Chicago around 1959. Well, I grew up in a small town in Florida, and my high school wasn't like that. But I still keep in touch with my high school friends. So in the song, Hopelessly Devoted to You, Sandy, Olivia Newton-John, she sings the song even if Danny, John Travolta, ignores her. So she still says, I'm still hopelessly devoted to you. And on Beaches, it was a movie in 1988, starring Bette Midler. Wind Beneath My Wings became Song of the Year in 1990. And the lyrics mimic the movie's theme of endearing friendship. And I have a personal story that when I was teaching school, an 8th grade chorus student who was one of my boy singers, he sang this song for me, dedicated it to me. Wind Beneath My Wings. It was first on Broadway, believe it or not, in 1927 before they made the movie in 1951. It's set on a Mississippi River showboat, and the showboats were famous about the riverboat having entertainment on it, just like our cruises now do, in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. My personal story about this almost makes me cry. When I was about 12 years old, 11, 12 years old, I was studying with the music teacher in town that owned the local music store. And she asked me if I would play for the opening of a furniture store, Broadway music, anything I wanted to, background music, that sort of thing. And so my mother purchased 2 pieces of music for me from Showboat, and this is one of them. The sad part is, I had all of my music sort of lined up on the piano, and just before I got to the Showboat music, they stopped me from playing because they had an announcement to make, and they said, "Oh, thank you for very much." And I felt so sad or guilty, whatever word you want to use, that my mother had spent money on music that I did not get to play that day. And this particular one was 60 cents. Anyway, that's my story of Showboat. So I can't help loving that man and make believe. retired school teacher. I have props. So the next one is the song from Toy Story. And I know you play We've Got a Friend in Me. And this is the theme song. It was a 1995 Disney Pixar movie, and it was actually the first animated movie that they did. So there's a friendship between Woody, here's Woody, and Buzz Lightyear. Here's Buzz Lightyear. To infinity and beyond. But as I was doing the research, I found out that in '08, the Space Shuttle Discovery took Buzz Lightyear with them on the spaceship. I thought that was cool. I did find the actual place in the movie when it was performed. So Auntie Em was telling Dorothy to find yourself a place where you won't get into any trouble. Well, then Dorothy looks at her dog, Toto, and says, "Do you suppose there is such a place, Toto?" "Well, there must be. It's not a place you can get to by boat or train. It's far, far away. Behind the moon, beyond rain." And then she sings, George Gershwin pieces. I just couldn't do a show without George Gershwin. So I've chosen Summertime from Porgy and Bess, and that's a folk opera. It was done in Broadway in 1939. They made a movie in 1959, and it tells the story of Porgy, who was a disabled black street beggar. And he lives in the slums of Charleston, South Carolina. And we live in South Carolina, very near Charleston, so I kind of understand the setting for this. Summertime is considered an aria, and it's a lullaby for the character to sing to her child. And Summertime I'm going to play as a light jazz arrangement. And then the second song is from Girl Crazy. You might not recognize it, but it's called I Got Rhythm. And it came from Girl Crazy. And Girl Crazy was a 1930 Broadway musical. And they made a movie of it in 1943. And you might remember, if you did see the movie American in Paris, that Gene Kelly danced to this, and he had the little children on the French saying, I got, and then he'd do some steps, I got, and then it was rhythm. So, okay, so Summertime first, and then I Got Rhythm. selection. My final selection is the theme from the movie New York, New York. And the movie was 1977, and it was sung by Liza Minnelli, but I remember Frank Sinatra's signature song, and he sang that in 1979. And there is also a new Broadway production that started in April of this year, 2023, of New York, New York. And you wouldn't believe I had about 15 that I had to leave out. Maybe I'll leave another concert. So anyway, and once again, thank you. Thank all of the people for helping, and thank my granddaughter for her part. And I forgot the most important person in my life, my husband. Practice every day. He tells me when things don't go right. He tells me if it's too slow. He tells me if it's too fast. We've been together now 46 years. So, yeah.